The chandelier crystals caught the afternoon sun, scattering gold across white linen. Chateau Blanc restaurant hummed with quiet wealth. Silverware clinked against porcelain. Low voices discussed mergers, acquisitions, numbers with too many zeros. Amara Baptiste adjusted her ivory uniform and approached table 7. 3 men in tailored suits, the kind who never looked at name tags. She smiled professionally. "Good afternoon, gentlemen. May I start you with—" Marcus Hartwell waved his hand like swatting a fly. He didn't look up from his phone. "Does anyone here actually speak English?" The words landed like a slap. Amara's smile froze. Her notepad pressed against her chest. Vincent Cross, the man at the head of the table, set down his water glass. His grey eyes shifted from Marcus to Amara. He said nothing. "Just watched," Marcus laughed, gesturing to his companions. "I'm serious. Can we get someone competent? I don't have time for—" He waved vaguely in Amara's direction. Amara's jaw tightened. Her fingers went numb. She'd heard this tone before. Different restaurants, same script. The assumption lived in the pause before they spoke, in the way their eyes slid past her. The third businessman chuckled nervously. Marcus snapped his fingers twice. "Hello, service?" Vincent Cross leaned back in his chair. His expression was unreadable. But he was watching now. Really watching. 6 hours earlier, Amara's alarm had shattered the quiet of her studio apartment. She'd reached past the stack of books on her nightstand. French poetry, Mandarin business texts, German philosophy. Evidence of a mind that refused to stay still. She'd opened her laptop before breakfast. Email notification number 47 from Sterling International. "Thank you for your interest. Unfortunately, we've decided to pursue other candidates." The same phrase, different company. Always the same careful distance in the words. Amara had a master's degree in applied linguistics from Georgetown. Thesis on diplomatic translation strategies. Graduated summa cum laude, spoke 7 languages fluently. On paper, she was exactly what international firms needed. But paper didn't show up to interviews, she did. And somehow that changed everything. "You're overqualified for entry level, but we don't have senior positions available." Translation: "You don't look like our senior staff. We're looking for someone with a more traditional background." Translation: "Someone who looks like tradition. You're impressive, but not quite the right cultural fit." Translation: "We're afraid of you." Her mother's voice had echoed through the morning silence. Words from childhood, spoken in Lingala and French and English. "Your brain is your superpower, Amara. One day they'll see it." But today wasn't that day. Today was table 7, ivory uniform. "Smile until your face aches." "Yes, sir, right away, sir. Will there be anything else, sir?" She'd tied her natural hair into a neat bun, the way management preferred. Professional, non-threatening, invisible. She'd practiced the smile in the mirror. The one that said, "I'm just here to serve." Chateau Blanc paid her bills while her dreams collected dust. She'd told herself it was temporary. 6 months, maybe a year. That was 3 years ago. Every night she went home to those books, kept her languages sharp, listened to podcasts in Portuguese, watched news in Arabic, read Italian literature before bed. Just in case someone, somewhere, finally saw her. Marcus leaned back in his chair, addressing Vincent Cross now. His voice carried across the private dining room. "You know what the problem is with places like this? They hire anyone these days." Amara stood perfectly still. Her pen hovered over the notepad. Professional smile still frozen in place. Marcus switched to French. Theatrical, exaggerated pronunciation. "Excusez-moi, mademoiselle. Parlez-vous français?" He grinned at Vincent. "Watch this. She probably thinks I'm speaking Spanish." Vincent's expression didn't change, but his fingers stopped drumming on the table. He was a billionaire known for acquiring international tech companies. His empire stretched across 12 countries. He understood the game Marcus was playing. Marcus continued in broken French, showing off. These people barely finish high school, Vincent. No offense to her, but when you're negotiating deals in Singapore, you need real expertise. Not, he gestured at Amara again. Not whatever this is. The third businessman, Richard something Amara remembered from the reservation, shifted uncomfortably. But he didn't speak up. Silence was agreement. Silence always was. Marcus snapped his fingers again. English. Simple words. Water, can you handle that? Amara's hand trembled. The notepad shook slightly. She could feel Vincent's eyes on her, measuring, calculating, waiting to see what she'd do. This was the moment she'd replayed 1,000 times. The moment when staying silent meant staying safe. When speaking up meant consequences. Lost job, bad reference, another door closed, but her mother's voice returned. Let your voice be the evidence. Amara lifted her chin, met Marcus's eyes directly, and made a choice. Every rejection letter flashed through Amara's mind. Every not quite right and overqualified, and we'll keep your resume on file. Every time someone had assumed less of her, before she'd even opened her mouth. She thought of her Congolese grandmother, who'd taught her French before English. Her mother, playing language tapes during long commutes. The scholarship she'd worked 3 jobs to supplement. The thesis that had won awards nobody outside academia would ever see. 7 languages lived in her mouth. 7 bridges between worlds. 7 proofs that she belonged everywhere these men assumed she didn't belong at all. Marcus was still talking, voice dripping with performance. Richard checked his phone. Vincent Cross remained motionless. His grey eyes held something Amara couldn't quite read. Not pity. Not contempt. Something else. Her heart hammered against her ribs. This could cost her everything. Or change everything. The space between those possibilities was exactly 1 breath. She inhaled slowly. The restaurant sounds faded. The chandelier light seemed sharper. Marcus's laughter became distant noise. Amara thought, I'm done being invisible. I'm done making myself smaller so mediocrity feels comfortable. She opened her mouth. And let 7 languages introduce themselves. Amara was 8 years old the first time language became power. Her grandmother had arrived from Kinshasa, speaking Lingala and French. Amara had watched her mother translate for neighbors, for doctors, for teachers. Words became bridges. Bridges became belonging. Learn languages, her mother had said, and you'll never be trapped in one world. So Amara learned. Italian from the family next door, the Rossinis who'd fled Rome and filled their apartment with opera. Mandarin from her college roommate Li Wei, who'd taught her characters between midnight study sessions. Arabic from Professor Hassan, who'd seen something in her and offered private tutoring he couldn't afford to give. Portuguese came during a study abroad program she'd saved 3 years to afford. Worked double shifts, sold her textbooks, ate ramen for 18 months. 6 weeks in Lisbon had cracked open another world. German arrived through pure stubbornness. She'd wanted to read Nietzsche in the original text, understand Rilke's poetry without the filter of translation. So she'd learned. Alone, with library books and YouTube videos and relentless repetition. Her thesis had explored how language shaped diplomatic outcomes. How the right word in the right tongue at the right moment could prevent wars or broker peace. She'd interviewed UN translators, studied Cold War negotiations, analyzed peace treaties in their original languages. The thesis won the Dean's Award. She'd stood on stage, accepting praise. Her mother had cried. Her grandmother had nodded, satisfied. The world had seemed open, finally. Then came the job applications, and with them, a different kind of translation. Overqualified meant threatening. Not the right fit meant not the right face. We'll be in touch meant please disappear. She'd kept studying anyway. Kept her languages alive, because they weren't just skills on a resume. They were proof that her mind could hold contradictions, navigate complexity, find common ground between different ways of seeing the world. Now, standing before Marcus's contempt, those languages weren't just words anymore. They were weapons. And Amara was done leaving them sheathed. Amara spoke. Her voice was calm, clear, perfectly controlled. First in Parisian French, accent flawless. Monsieur Artuel, votre prononciation suggère que vous avez appris le français dans un guide touristique, pas dans une salle de classe. Marcus's smile cracked. His champagne glass stopped halfway to his lips. Amara switched to Italian without pausing. Smooth, natural, the rolling cadence of Rome. Acqua naturale o frizzante. Posso anche suggerire I piatti del giorno se preferisce. The color drained from Marcus's face. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Mandarin next. Business formal, crisp consonants, perfect tonal precision. 我也可以用您喜欢的任何语言提供今日特餐. She smiled slightly. I can provide today's specials in any language you prefer. Richard's fork clattered against his plate. Vincent Cross leaned forward, eyes suddenly sharp with interest. Portuguese flowed like water. A nossa especialidade hoje é robalo com molho de limão e alcaparras. Arabic followed, each syllable placed with surgical precision. يمكنني أيضا أن أوصي بأطباق نباتية إذا كنتم تفضلون ذلك. German came last, cool and professional. Oder möchten Sie vielleicht zuerst die Weinkarte sehen? Silence crashed over the table. The kind that rings in your ears, the kind that rewrites the entire conversation that came before it. 7 languages in 90 seconds. 7 worlds opened and closed. 7 proofs that every assumption Marcus had made was not just wrong, but laughably, humiliatingly, completely wrong. Vincent Cross set down his water glass very carefully. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but carried the weight of boardrooms and billion-dollar decisions. Who are you? Amara met his gaze. Amara Baptiste. Masters in Applied Linguistics, Georgetown University. Thesis on multilingual diplomatic negotiation strategies. Fluent in 7 languages. Currently employed as a waitress, because 47 international firms found me overqualified. Marcus finally found his voice. Anyone can memorize phrases. Test me. Amara's voice didn't rise, but it cut through Marcus's words like glass. Any language, any topic, business terminology, legal documents, medical translation, literary analysis, choose. Vincent stood, extended his hand. Vincent Cross, Cross Global Enterprises. I assume you've heard of us? Amara shook his hand. Her fingers were steady now. Your acquisition of Chen Technologies, Mandarin negotiations, complex IP transfers. Yes, I followed the news. Vincent almost smiled. I'm acquiring a Singapore-based AI firm next month. Negotiations in multiple languages. I need a translator I can trust. Someone brilliant who everyone underestimates. He paused. Sound familiar? Marcus recovered, defensive anger flooding his face. Vincent, you cannot be serious. She's a waitress. You need verified credentials, background checks, security clearance. Marcus. Vincent didn't raise his voice, but Marcus went silent immediately. I've been listening to you butcher French for 20 minutes, watching you perform contempt like it's a skill. I'm done. He turned back to Amara. What's your availability? Amara's mind spun. This was happening too fast. Opportunity didn't knock. It crashed through walls. I'd need to give notice here. 2 weeks professionally. You'll start Monday. Vincent pulled a card from his wallet, handed it to her. Heavy stock, embossed letters. My office, 9 a.m. Bring your credentials, references, whatever documentation you have. My assistant will arrange the details. Richard cleared his throat. Vincent, maybe we should discuss. There's nothing to discuss. I just watched someone speak 7 languages flawlessly while being systematically degraded. That's exactly the kind of resilience I need on my team. Vincent's gaze hardened. Marcus, our partnership is done. I'll have the lawyers draw up separation terms. Marcus's face went crimson. Over a waitress? Over your character. Or lack of it. Vincent gathered his coat. Ms. Baptiste, I look forward to Monday. He left cash on the table, enough to cover the bill 3 times over, and walked out. Amara stood frozen, Vincent's card burning in her hand. The embossed letters seemed to shimmer. Cross Global Enterprises. Direct line to the CEO. Monday, 9 a.m. Richard gathered his things quickly, avoiding eye contact. He mumbled something about another meeting and fled. The private dining room suddenly felt enormous and empty. Amara turned to leave. Her legs felt unsteady. This was real. This was actually happening. Marcus's voice stopped her. Low, venomous, meant only for her ears. He'll forget about you by morning. She looked back. Marcus was leaning forward, elbows on the table. His smile was cold. Men like Vincent Cross don't hire people like you for real positions. You'll show up Monday and security won't have your name. Or there'll be some excuse, some policy, some reason why it won't work out. He stood, adjusting his royal blue tie, stepped closer. You think speaking languages changes anything? You think one impressive moment erases what you are? His voice dropped to barely a whisper. You'll always be the help. Some truths don't translate. He walked past her close enough that she smelled his cologne. At the door he paused. Enjoy your hope while it lasts. Then he was gone. And Amara was alone with Vincent's card and Marcus's poison, and the terrible space between possibility and illusion. She walked to the kitchen on autopilot, slid down the wall by the dry storage. Card pressed against her chest. Her hands were shaking again. Was it real? Or was Marcus right? Was Monday going to be another door closing? Another not quite right? Another lesson in staying in her place? The kitchen noise swirled around her. Orders called, plates clattering, the chef yelling about timing. Her normal world. The safe world. But Vincent's card felt heavy, real. It had weight. Amara closed her eyes. 7 languages whispered in her mind. All that knowledge finally seen, or maybe just briefly noticed before being dismissed again. She didn't know which scared her more, that Monday might be nothing, or that it might be everything. Outside, Marcus pulled out his phone, began typing rapidly, jaw clenched. Vincent Cross had just made an enemy. And enemies have long memories. Monday morning. Cross Tower rose 40 stories into grey sky. Glass and steel, reflecting clouds and ambition. Amara stood on the sidewalk, her portfolio clutched against her emerald green blazer. She'd barely slept. Practiced her introduction in all 7 languages. Printed her thesis, her transcripts, her letters of recommendation. Everything Marcus said wouldn't matter. The lobby was marble and chrome. Her heels clicked too loudly. The security desk loomed ahead. Amara Baptiste. I have a 9 a.m. with Vincent Cross. The guard scrolled through his tablet, frowned, scrolled again. I don't see your name. Her stomach dropped. There must be a mistake. He gave me his card Friday. Told me to come today. Ma'am, if you're not in the system, I can't let you up. His tone was polite but final. Then she heard the voice. Marcus Hartwell, emerging from the elevators with 2 other executives. He saw her. His smile was razor-sharp. Ms. Baptiste, what a surprise. He approached the security desk. Tom, this woman has been making threats against Mr. Cross. I filed a report Friday evening. Amara's blood turned to ice. That's a lie. She approached our table at a restaurant, behaved erratically, made inappropriate advances toward Mr. Cross. Marcus's voice was smooth, concerned. I warned him she might show up. The guard's expression shifted. His hand moved toward his radio. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. No, this isn't. Vincent Cross invited me. Call his office, please. Her voice cracked. The portfolio slipped from her hands. Papers scattered across marble. Marcus bent down, gathered her thesis, glanced at the title. Multilingual Diplomatic Negotiation Strategies. He looked up at her. Impressive fiction. He handed it to the guard. She's been impersonating a linguistics expert. We ran a background check. The degree is fake. Amara felt the lobby tilt. I graduated Georgetown. Summa cum laude. This is insane. Ma'am, you need to leave now or I'll call the police. The guard stood, hand on his belt. She looked past Marcus toward the elevators, 40 floors up. Vincent Cross's office, the promise that had kept her awake with hope. Marcus leaned close, whispered, "I told you. People like you don't belong in places like this." Amara gathered her papers with shaking hands, walked toward the exit. Each step felt like drowning. Behind her, Marcus's laughter echoed off marble walls. Outside, the morning crowds rushed past. She stood motionless, thesis pressed to her chest. 7 languages silent again, invisible again. Vincent Cross arrived at his office at 9:15 a.m. His assistant handed him coffee and his schedule. "Your 9 o'clock didn't show." "Amara Baptiste." Vincent paused. "What do you mean, didn't show?" "Security says she never checked in. Should I reschedule? Something didn't sit right." Vincent thought of Friday, the way Amara had spoken 7 languages without hesitation, the way her hands had trembled holding his card. That wasn't someone who'd ghost an interview. He called security. "Tom, the 9 a.m. I scheduled." "Amara Baptiste." "What happened?" "Sir, Mr. Hartwell informed us she wasn't authorized. Said there was a security concern filed Friday." Vincent's jaw tightened. "I filed no such concern." "Who authorized blocking her?" "Mr. Hartwell, sir. He said you'd been threatened, that she was impersonating—" "Get me Marcus now." Vincent hung up, opened his laptop, typed Amara Baptiste, Georgetown Linguistics. The search results loaded. Her thesis appeared first, published in the university's academic database. 5 years old, downloadable PDF. He clicked it open. 287 pages. Charts analyzing UN translation protocols. Case studies of failed negotiations due to linguistic misunderstandings. A bibliography with sources in 8 languages. The acknowledgement section mentioned her mother, her grandmother, Professor Hassan. Real people. Real gratitude. This wasn't fiction. Vincent searched deeper, found her LinkedIn, updated sporadically sparse connections. A Twitter account discussing translation theory. A YouTube video from a Georgetown symposium where she presented her research. 300 views. She was brilliant and nobody was watching. His phone buzzed. Marcus returning his call. Vincent answered. "Did you block Amara Baptiste from entering my building?" "Vincent, I was protecting you. That woman is unstable. She has a verified master's degree from Georgetown, published research. Everything she told us was true." Vincent's voice went cold. "You lied to security. You sabotaged an interview I personally arranged." Silence on the line. Then Marcus, defensive. "You were making a mistake. Hiring based on emotion, not logic. The mistake was mine. I kept you around too long." Vincent ended the call, dialed his head of HR. "I need an immediate background verification on Amara Baptiste, and I need her contact information. She was turned away this morning by mistake." "Mistake, sir." "Sabotage. I want it corrected within the hour." Vincent stood at his window, 40 floors above the city. Somewhere down there, Amara Baptiste thought her one chance had evaporated, thought she'd been right to doubt, thought the door had closed again. He wouldn't let Marcus's poison be the last word. Not this time. Amara's phone rang Tuesday afternoon. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Ms. Baptiste? This is Catherine Wu, Vincent Cross's executive assistant. Mr. Cross would like to apologize for yesterday's incident and invite you to his office tomorrow at 2 p.m. He'll personally ensure you're cleared through security." Amara's hand went numb. What?" "There was a misunderstanding. Mr. Cross investigated and discovered you were deliberately blocked by Marcus Hartwell. He's no longer with the company. Mr. Cross would still very much like to discuss the position." The position. It was real. It had always been real. Wednesday, 2 p.m. Amara wore the same emerald blazer. This time security waved her through immediately. Catherine met her at the elevator, warm and professional. "He's expecting you." Vincent's office overlooked the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture. a wall of books in multiple languages. He stood when she entered. "Miss Baptiste, I owe you an apology. What happened Monday was inexcusable. You didn't know. I should have verified you were confirmed. I should have called you directly." He gestured to a chair. "Please sit," Amara sat. Vincent remained standing, hands in his pockets. "I read your thesis, all 287 pages. It's exceptional work. You analyzed the Camp David Accords through a linguistic framework I've never seen before. You read the whole thing, twice. You argue that translation isn't just converting words, it's navigating cultural assumptions, that a single mistranslated phrase can collapse years of diplomacy." He smiled slightly. "That's exactly what I need." Before Amara could respond, the office door opened. Marcus Hartwell walked in, trailed by 2 lawyers and Richard from the restaurant. His face was storm-dark. "Vincent, we need to discuss your breach of contract. There's nothing to discuss. You're done here." Vincent's voice was granite. "I'm a founding partner. You can't just—" Marcus saw Amara. His expression curdled. "This is about her. You're destroying our partnership over a waitress? I'm ending our partnership because you're a liability. Racist, dishonest, cruel. Pick one." Vincent moved to his desk, pressed a button. A screen descended from the ceiling. Video footage appeared. Security camera. The restaurant dining room, Friday afternoon. Audio crackled to life. Marcus's voice clear and damning. "These people barely finish high school. You need real expertise, not whatever this is." The footage continued. Every dismissive word, every snap of his fingers. Then Amara's response, 7 languages flowing like water. Marcus's face draining of color. Vincent paused the video. "The restaurant provided this yesterday. I showed it to our board. Unanimous decision. You're out." Marcus's lawyers shifted uncomfortably. Richard stared at his shoes. Marcus himself looked cornered. "That's taken out of context. The context is you're a bigot. The context is you lied to security to sabotage Miss Baptiste. The context is you've done this before." Vincent pulled up another document on screen. 3 complaints from former employees. All women of color. All mysteriously blocked from promotions. HR buried them. I didn't know. Now I do. The room went silent. Marcus's jaw worked soundlessly. Vincent turned to Amara. "Miss Baptiste, I'm offering you the position of head of linguistic strategy. Salary starts at $180,000 with performance bonuses. You'll lead a team of 12 translators across our international divisions. You'll report directly to me." Amara's ears rang. Head of, team of 12, $180,000. Numbers that didn't feel real. "But first," Vincent continued, "I need you to do something for me." He clicked a remote. A video call appeared on screen. A boardroom in Singapore. 8 executives speaking rapid Mandarin. "This is the acquisition negotiation. It's happening now. My current translator is adequate but missing nuance. Can you listen and tell me what they're really saying?" Amara stood, moved closer to the screen. The executives were discussing contract terms, but underneath the formal language there were concerns, cultural hesitations, unspoken doubts about American business practices. She listened for 2 minutes, then turned to Vincent. "They're worried you'll strip the company for parts. The CEO's father built the firm. He's afraid of losing legacy. They want assurances about employee retention and cultural respect, but they're too polite to say it directly." Vincent nodded slowly. "Our current translator gave me none of that." He unmuted the call, spoke in English. Amara translated simultaneously into Mandarin, her voice steady and warm. "Mr. Cross wants you to know he understands this company represents your father's vision. He's committing to 5-year employment guarantees for all senior staff and maintaining your company culture. He's not here to erase what you built." The CEO's expression softened. He spoke in Mandarin. Amara translated back. "He says that changes everything. He wants to move forward." Vincent smiled, ended the call, looked at Marcus. "That's what real expertise looks like. Get out of my building." Marcus left, flanked by lawyers, his contempt finally stripped of its power. Richard followed, not meeting anyone's eyes. Vincent extended his hand to Amara. "Do we have a deal?" She shook it. Her voice steady now. "We have a deal." 6 months later, Amara stood in her own office. Smaller than Vincent's, but hers. Windows overlooking the city she'd once watched from ground level. Her team had grown to 15 translators. They'd closed the Singapore deal, negotiated contracts in Brazil, facilitated partnerships across Europe. Cross Global's international revenue had increased 23% since she'd joined. But the numbers weren't what mattered most. It was the young woman who'd emailed last week, a linguistics student who'd seen Amara featured in Forbes. "You made me believe I could do this too." Amara kept that email printed by her desk, next to her mother's photo, next to her grandmother's old French dictionary. Her phone buzzed. Text from Vincent. "Swiss negotiation tomorrow. Need your German expertise. Also, board approved your proposal for the interpreter fellowship program. We're funding 10 scholarships. 10 students who'd learn languages and get real opportunities. 10 people who wouldn't have to choose between their brilliance and their paycheck." 10 doors opened instead of closed. Amara walked to her window, pressed her hand against the glass. She thought of herself 6 months ago, sliding down a restaurant kitchen wall, wondering if hope was just another language she'd never master. She'd learned it after all. Hope had a grammar. It conjugated through courage, through speaking up, through refusing to stay invisible. Her office door opened. Catherine poked her head in. "Ready for the team meeting?" "Ready." Amara grabbed her notes, paused at her mother's photo. "Your voice is the evidence," she whispered, and finally the world was listening. Some truths do translate after all. Across languages, across cultures, across the artificial borders of who belongs and who doesn't. Amara had learned that competence is its own language. That silence can be strategy, but voice is power. That assumptions crumble when you refuse to stay in the box they've built for you. Marcus Hartwell had believed 7 languages couldn't change what she was. He was right, in a way. They didn't change her. They revealed her. They proved what she'd always known, that her mind was vast enough to hold contradictions, navigate complexity, bridge worlds. The real translation wasn't French or Mandarin or Arabic. It was translating invisibility into presence, translating doubt into opportunity, translating one man's contempt into an entire career. Vincent Cross hadn't saved her. She'd saved herself by refusing to shrink. He'd simply been wise enough to recognize brilliance when everyone else was too blind to see it. And now she'd opened the door for others. 10 scholarships, 15 translators who looked like her, hundreds of students who'd read her story and think, maybe I can too, because the most powerful translation of all is turning "you don't belong" into "watch me prove you wrong." 7 languages. 1 voice. Infinite possibilities. Amara Baptiste had finally found the words that mattered most. I am here. I am brilliant. I belong, and nobody could translate that away.